tonight we are joined by Cory Mullins. He's going to join us for our Alumni Speaker Series tonight. So Cory is a 2019 alum from our Fayette campus. He was a financial management major with a pre-law minor. So Cory, I'd like to welcome you to our talk this evening. And as I mentioned when we first hopped on live, that if you have any questions for Cory tonight, I have several of them that I'm going to be asking him. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section of the Facebook page that you're watching here, and I will go ahead and ask them of him throughout the evening. This is also being recorded and will be put on our Alumni Speaker Series webpage. So if you have questions after tonight's talk, we can definitely make sure we get your questions to Cory if you're looking to network and communicate with him a little bit further about some of the stuff that he's going to talk about tonight. So I will just go ahead and kick things off. Cory, welcome. And I know there's several things that you want to talk about, but first, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I really, I love coming back to Upper Iowa. Upper Iowa is kind of where it all started. So I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa, so Iowa born and raised. I came to Upper Iowa in 2015. Oh God, that seems like not too long ago, but it is a long time ago. I came to Upper Iowa in 2015. I was a part of the men's golf team. That's originally what brought me to UIU. It was kind of there that everything kind of fell into place. I loved campus. I loved it, everything like that. I loved the business school that I was a part of up there. And after Upper Iowa, I graduated in 2019. I went to Drake University Law School from 2019 to 2022. I got my law degree from Drake University as well as my MBA during that time. In 2022, I took and passed the bar in the state of Iowa, so still got those Iowa ties. That's what. But from there, during law school, actually, I commissioned in the U.S. Navy into the JAG Corps. I then, once I passed the bar, I went to training in Rhode Island. From Rhode Island, I came to Bremerton, Washington, so just right outside Seattle. And I have been here for about a year and a half. About to move here in a year to a new location. I don't know where yet, but I am a JAG, which just means I am a military lawyer, a uniformed lawyer. So that's currently what I do. But I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to talk about Upper Iowa and everything that's done for me.
Awesome. So I know you did very briefly talk about what it was that brought you to Upper Iowa with being on the golf team. But once you got here, what were some other things that you were involved in? Multiple organizations and activities. So can you talk about some of those things? What were some other things that brought you here? What were some other things that you were involved in? And then how did those experiences impact you once you completed your degree?
Yeah, I'll be very honest. I came to Upper Iowa only for golf. I came for no other reason. But it was a senior on the golf team when I was a freshman, Christian Archer, and I told him I would give him a shout out. He kind of sat me down that first semester and said, "Hey, uh, this isn't going to last forever. What are you going to show for it?" And it was kind of that push that made me look at the different organizations that Upper Iowa offered and the different opportunities that it offered me. From there, I did quite a lot of business type clubs. I was in Enactus. I don't know if it's there anymore, but Enactus, I did. I think it was PBLA. It was basically the Future Business Leaders of America club. I did a couple other organizations, some just general school activities. I was part of the mock trial team when I was there. That was super influential. But I was also the vice president of the student body. I forgot about that one. It was just I did quite a bit, and everything kind of made me a more well-rounded student, a more well-rounded person. And it was just super fun. Upper Iowa was a small community that if you were in a larger school, I don't think you'd have a lot of those same opportunities and same breadth of uh, you know skills that you can get from doing those extracurriculars. So while I was up at Iowa, I did quite a bit, probably too much. I would never recommend it to as much as I did, but it was super fun. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed meeting a lot of the people that I'm still friends to today with.
Some of those activities that you were involved in, good resume builders? Like, were you able to utilize all of those things on your resume to kind of help propel you into what the different things you were doing in law school?
Yeah, no, it definitely, I mean, a lot of it started out as a resume builder, but I think I came to learn that, it made me more. Obviously, you put it on the resume, you put it there to say what you did and how you did it, but it was ultimately the skills just by doing that type of stuff that, when you go into interviews or you go into grad school interviews or stuff like that, you can talk about it and what it really taught you. So as much as it is a resume builder, it's also just you know, schools are going to see those skills that you have, or, employment's going to see those skills that you gained. And as much as it's good to put on paper, it's also good to be able to talk about things that you actually did. And that's going to help you in interviews. It's going to help you with schools. And so, yeah, it definitely was a resume builder, but it was also, an individual builder. And that's really what those organizations taught me.
What were some of the experiences and opportunities that made you want to pursue a law degree after Upper Iowa? I know that wasn't your initial plan; it just kind of fell into place. And so, what were some of those experiences that led you to that path?
I tell the story all the time. I was a double major in finance and marketing with a minor in biology. Originally, I was just going to go try to sell biomedical equipment or something like that. Um, I was in a genetics class, and science classes are on Wednesdays at Upper Iowa. But I had been offered by a professor, Chris Pragnus, who is still there. He asked if I wanted to go see Seventh Circuit arguments in Chicago. He knew I'd kind of been looking at law school. I think it was my sophomore year, kind of thinking about it, mulling it over. So he asked me and a couple other students if we wanted to go, and I went to Dr. Sheely, who I don't know if she's still there, but
She
I went
is.
to
Yep.
Dr. Sheely. Oh, great, great, she's awesome. And I went to her and I said, "Hey, I'm not going to be here Wednesday." And she goes, what's the excuse? Is it golf? Is it this?" And it's like, "No, I'm just not going to be here. I'm going to go see these arguments. I apologize. I'll take the absence." And she just kind of smiled at me, and she knew I wasn't, like a pre-med or anything like that. She just kind of smiled and said, "Okay, we'll make it up. We'll get it fixed." I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate that." And then the next day I went in with I think it was a pink slip at the time, not a job firing thing, but it was a pink slip to get signed off that I was withdrawing from the class. And so I withdrew from genetics. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I'm not advocating that. But I dropped the class and I switched my majors to finance with minors in pre-law and economics. And so it was a very sudden change, but when it was the opportunity that Chris Cragness provided me that really showed that, this is what I want to do. I like that. I like what I saw. I like the type of job, and I'm going to go for it. And uh, I think the reason I asked that this speech be titled "Falling Into It" is literally it was falling into it. I didn't come
Mhm.
to Upper Iowa with the idea of being a lawyer or anything like that. It was an opportunity. I saw it, and it was done after that. So I apologize to everybody in the Gen X class and Dr. Sheely now here publicly, but it was very sudden. But I've had a lot of people support me along the way.
Absolutely. Sounds like it turned out very well for you in the end. Um, Others that are listening may be contemplating pursuing a graduate degree in general, whether that's law or in the other medical field or anything like that. How were some of the demands of your grad degree program in law school different from the demands of undergraduate degree?
I mean, it is a different beast. Absolutely, it's not something that you can't do. I think a lot of people are apprehensive or nervous about it, and it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. There are in I think almost any graduate program you do, it's going to be a sacrifice in terms of time. For me, it was always the summers, because I was doing the MBA along with it. I was never I was always in school for the full 3 years. I didn't have my summers off, as well as when you study for the bar exam. It's through the summer or the different tests. Uh, so I was constantly in like a building when I could see outside and see everybody. It was sunny and everybody was out there. So it's time, it's sacrifice, it's hard work. No matter what you do, if you do a research postgraduate, you're going to be in the lab, or you're going to be doing the research and doing the write up and 40, 50-page papers. Um, but if you just take it one step at a time and, you know, understand that, Upper Iowa as well as other schooling has set you up for it, or if you did extracurriculars, take it one step at a time, and it's manageable. but it is a sacrifice. You'll have to put the time in. That's the biggest difference is time and effort.
Thank
Not
you.
to say that undergraduate is not effort. Let's put that out there again. It's effort, but you'll definitely have some more effort with law school, postgraduate, anything.
It's a different kind of effort.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's important for us all to know who we are and be able to set some goals for where we see ourselves headed. What are some key points that you can share with those listening tonight about how we can take who we are and continue to grow in that environment?
Yeah, I think it's good to set goals. I've never been the person like you have to write them down, right? But you should have some short term as well as midterm to long term goals. If the long term goal, let's say, is getting a PhD, right? That's a good long term goal. But you don't get to the long term goal without setting and accomplishing those short term goals. And sometimes those, doing those short term goals make you realize you either don't want that or that there's something else out there that you do want. And it's really just the process is setting, understanding what that long term goal is and working towards it, but also understanding that through by actually doing paying attention to the short term goals, the foundational stuff, it will ultimately help you get there. And you don't have to focus on the long term the whole time. You can focus on what's in front of you and you can take those steps to achieve it. And so I think with goal planning or anything like that, it really is taking it step by step. I would say law school is a really good example. Uh, Legally Blonde is obviously that's a comedy movie. Um, it's a good idea of this. She was a fashion major and she went to law school. Right? Law school doesn't have any prerequisite undergraduate degree. You can do anything you want. And so if anybody asks, should I go to law school or can I go to law school? What kind of degree I need? It's go do what you like to do. Because by doing what you like to do, you're going to get the grades, you're going to get the foundation of, uh, that's going to set you up when you're studying for the LSAT or when you're finally in law school. So there's not like a set path to any one degree, but by focusing on what you like to do and doing it well, will set you up whether it's looking for a job after undergraduate degree or whether you're going into postgraduate work. Um, I always just tell people to focus on what's in front of you.
While you were going through your law degree, what was that turning point, or what was the thing that drew you to the JAG Corps and drew you to being commissioned to the United States Navy? Like, what kind of was that turning point for you, or was it just something that fell there as time came on, or kind of how did that process work for other individuals that might be interested in a similar path?
Yeah. Title of the speech, falling into it. Yeah, it's really um I like the idea of falling into it because I didn't go to I didn't go to undergraduate UIU to go to law school. I didn't go to law school to join the JAG Corps. It was an opportunity that presented itself. Um, it was between my first and second year of law school that I was working in a personal injury firm for clients, and the clients were great. They were fine, but there had been some things where it was just, it made me question who I was representing. And so as I started to kind of look at that, more seriously about after law school and what I was going to be doing, it ultimately opened itself up to, hey, the military has lawyers. They represent clients, they represent sailors, but they also represent commanders and those who are executing the mission. And so it also offers an opportunity that I get to change my job almost every 2 years. Uh, so I could be representing um, clients in court martials for 3 years. And then after that, I move to another location. Now I'm representing a commander and helping him or her make decisions that are going to affect whatever ultimately that mission is that they're trying to achieve. And so thinking about who I was serving and what I was doing with my law degree was influential to joining the JAG Corps. I should also say my opinions do not reflect the United States Navy. They are personal opinions. Sure that everybody's getting a kick out of that. They are personal opinions, but I think a lot of us who do um, join because we're looking at how do we use our law degree and how can we, you know, really who we're serving. That's kind of where we all boil down to.
Making connections and building relationships is so important in helping with the advancement in any field. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for building relationships?
Ultimately, as much as it's probably cliche to say, it's just being a nice person, right? Um, sp- your reputation is always going to be there. It's going to start at some point, whether you move or change jobs, or if you're in the job for 30 years. Uh, it's always good to have the person you can call, even if you've never talked to them in 2 years. If you can call and say, hey, it's been a while, um, but I know you've been handling stuff like this, and I need some advice. Uh, it's always something to kind of to want to have. I still talk to plenty of people from UIU. I just got married to an alumnus here last October as well, so we're double peacocks. I don't know if that's a thing, but we're double peacocks. But we still talk. They have UIU friends that came out and visit here out here in Washington. I still call them. I even use some for services, the stuff, whatever what they're doing now. I am their client, and that's it's nice to have people I can trust and who I know. Um, so even though I'm no longer in Iowa, I still talk to many UIU folks, as well as people I met in law school and professionals. Uh, Networking is good, but don't overthink it. I think a lot of people try to overthink it. They try to uh, they try to get the edge up right. It's just be a good person, talk to them, and that's 95% of networking.
Displaying communication skills and leadership qualities are attributes that will help anyone's career. What are some of the key qualities and attributes that you're looking for in individuals and professionals when you work with that will help make teams and organizations successful?
That's an interesting question, a loaded question. Um, there's a quite a bit with that. So I'd first start with communication.
Mhm.
Communication's it's going to be useful in almost everything you do. I don't know one job that, and if it's IT and you're behind a computer screen all day, maybe. But even then, I'm assuming you're talking to coworkers, boss. Communication is key. Learning to communicate with people of all different types. Definitely learn that in the military. You know, People from California, people from the East Coast, people who weren't even born in this country who joined the military to gain citizenship. Those are all things that you have to learn to communicate with a lot of different type of people from a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds, and you have to work together. And so I think communication and building a team and working towards a goal, uh, you have to be able to communicate effectively, and that's we focus on that quite a bit in the military. But it's almost every job is making sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody's aware of the goal, as what we would call the mission in the Navy, and working towards that. So you can't have that with a team that's not communicating. You can't have that with a team who's all have different goals, who are by themselves. And so communication is key.
And what are some leadership qualities that you're kind of as you're working with your different teams, what are some leadership qualities that you notice in the people that you're working with?
Probably say like empathy. If you can't empathize with the lowest person on the totem pole, or empathize with what the highest person on the totem pole is doing, you're not going to understand what everybody is trying to do. Uh, for an example is, I think, again, what the military. Oh, shocker, I'm going back to it. If you understand what the commanding officer is trying to do, you can be more effective in what you are doing. But if are tasking something to somebody who's doing just simply getting binders put together, uh you have to empathize what their tasking requires and what they need to do. So it's empathy, a mixture with communication, mixed with just communication. It's Sorry, I said communication twice.
No, you're
It's
fine.
just understanding what it is that everybody's doing and making sure that you are trying to fit the team together as best as possible. And so that's what I would say. And I learned it at Upper Iowa. I learned it in law school, doing those extracurriculars, doing those organizational things, understanding that you got to understand what everybody is doing to make sure that it's effective.
career readiness is a big part of the career development and career services offices. So my office belongs to NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they have come out with 8 core competencies that employers and HR professionals are looking for in new hires and recent college graduates. So I know you've talked a lot about communication tonight and some of those leadership qualities, but what other competencies do you feel are important for helping excel in one's career field?
Depending on whatever career field you want to choose, there's technical competencies, right? And I think that's what a lot of people think. Uh, it's what you need to go do the job. To go to law school, you have to have an undergraduate degree. So if you were in high school and were like, I want to go to law school, well, that's what you got to go get the technical competencies and accreditation. So those are things I think they're things that we can't look over. The other type of competencies, I would say, obviously, I would say communication. I've already said that one, but uh, it's a big thing,
It
communication.
is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say willingness to be open to things, understanding that, you know, it's not going to be a checklist. It's not real life isn't check, 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 check. It is, hey, we need to get this done. No one's done it. Let's figure it out. Operating in that gray area. Um, and so I'm glad that I got to have this conversation with UIU. It's definitely not tailored towards people in the career field. They've all experienced this, but
Mm-hmm.
young students who, are either apprehensive, scared, or don't really know what they want to do. It's really just being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And, it's in terms of a core competency, that's probably what I would say is the biggest one, is you're going to get tasked with things that you have no idea what to do. But using your networking skills to reach out to people who might have done something similar, or, just communicating with your team how we're going to accomplish this, or simply, using those technical competencies that you've learned in school, or if it's, technical training, leaning back on that to kind of understand, hey, where's the starting point? And now that I can tailor this endpoint based off that, and I can work towards that idea. So core competencies are something that I look at it as like practice. If you're practicing for a sport, when you get to that actual, game time or that event, you're going to fall back into what the practice prepared you for, right? So it's just building those core competencies so that when you see stuff that you've never seen before, you can execute and you can make sure that it's going to get done properly.
First, I will just share that Coach Mike Lewis thanks you for sharing your wisdom with everyone tonight. And then 2 questions that I'm going to combine. You've got what is something you miss from your time at UIU, and what is your favorite memory from UIU? And those came from 2 fellow alums that I think you are very familiar with, Justin Helly and Anna Winter. So what is something you miss from your time at UIU, and what is your favorite UIU memory?
First thing comes is the time. I had so much time in college. Uh, I think I miss the small town feel. I came from a bigger, I'm not gonna say city, but Des Moines was much, much bigger. Uh, but just knowing everybody at UIU and Fayette, it was an experience I didn't know I wanted when I initially came to Upper Iowa. Uh, just getting to know friends, hanging out, but in a small community as well. You got to really know the people you were learning with, working with, learning from. It's definitely an experience I miss, and being now in a much bigger city, it's served me well. I'm excited when the military is over to get back to that small town feel.
Professor Thompson has asked a question. He's actually done a couple of them. Sarcastic or not, I'm not sure, but he wants to know, what is economics? And then there's another question that he asked, whether or not you have a preference or not sure, but where do you go where do you want to go the next time you move?
I think he's asking that because he wants to visit. And he's the one who came out and visited. the first question, what is economics? It's the study of choices given the presence of scarcity. And scarcity is unlimited wants with limited resources. If he hasn't, you know, pounded his economics students about that, they will not forget it at this point 5 years later. We were in economics together, and that we definitely knew that definition by heart. So that's why he's asking that. In terms of where I want to go, there's a lot of places. I'd love to be attached to an aircraft carrier. Um, Believe it or not, there are JAGs on aircraft carriers. Potentially Italy, but there's also some, so we say CONUS, so continental United States. There's some CONUS locations as well that are appealing, but ultimately, the needs of the Navy are where we go, and we are happy to serve where we can.
All
So I
right.
can't give him an answer where he can come visit in a year yet.
Well, then when you know, I'm sure he'll know. He said you passed, by the way.
There we go.
Fellow alum Haley Cessna wants to know, working as a lawyer for the military, are you enlisted for a certain timeline and hold a role in the military, or are you just hired under the government as a lawyer in general?
No. So I am a uniformed judge advocate. So I'm not wearing my uniform. We have certain requirements against that. But no, I wear camouflage. I wear our dress blues uniform. I'm in the military. We don't, as officers, we don't per se have an enlistment, but we have a kind of a time that we sign up for. It's 4 and 4, so it's 4 active duty, 4 reserve, for a total of 8. But with those 4 in the reserve, you can go in inactive reserve, which doesn't mean you're drilling every once a month and 2 weeks in the summer. But no, I'm a uniformed attorney. We represent sailors as well as the United States Navy. We do have civilian attorneys that work alongside us in certain settings. They're called Office of General Counsel, so OGC attorneys. They handle certain things for the Navy, and we handle more of the military side. And so, nope, I'm full active duty U.S. military. I'm a lieutenant. So yeah.
From fellow alum as well, her name happens to be Peyton. She wants to know what's the best and worst part of the job.
She could actually.
Maybe you do or don't want to answer that. I'm not sure.
That's my wife. For anybody who's not tracking, I think the best part of the job is you wake up and you feel a sense of purpose. You do get to put the uniform on every day. You do get to, show up, and even when you're having a bad day, you still feel a sense of, hey, this is not, this day sucked, but tomorrow we're going to get up and we're going to do the same thing because the mission requires us to. In the Navy, you don't get to have, we're, again, personal opinion. You are doing a job to make sure that the country is protected and that we are, defending any potential threats. And my job is to make sure that commanders can make those decisions, or if I'm in a defense role, that we can defend the sailors. I always feel like I'm doing something important, and that is a great feeling. You can get that in any job. It's not like the military is the only job that gives that to you. But I would say, find a job that does that for you. And that's ultimately the best part of it. The worst part of the job, she's asked me this question. It's like law school, or like it's a sacrifice, sure. You're away from family. You could be told to move at a drops notice. But that's just part of the job. It can be stressful, but at the same time, it's very rewarding.
So I'll circle back around to kind of picking up where we had left off when you were talking about the different skills and competencies. And, you were talking about individuals being comfortable with the uncomfortable, and some of those other competencies. How would you encourage others to try and improve those skills and kind of step out of that comfort zone?
It's doing things. And so by doing a lot of those extracurriculars, it made me more competent, and it showed me a variety of issues that I wouldn't have seen if I had just done one club or this or that. When I was in mock trial, or even in law school. I always told students do it. Even if you're a science major, you know, playing an expert witness is something that, it helps with the communication skills. It makes you think critically. It's something that, by doing something that you don't think you could do or you shouldn't do because that's not what your future job requires, you're probably holding yourself back from something that future job might require, or just being able to do something that you've never done before. So I always tell people, or students mostly, just stay out of a single lane. Do something that you don't think you want to do. Well, sorry, don't do anything you don't want to do. But do something you think, hey, maybe that's just not what my career calls for, because you're probably going to find something in that will help you with that job. Uh, Again, I don't have all the answers, but that's the idea of doing things you're uncomfortable with are going to make it much easier when the job asks you to do something that's really difficult. So just building up those reps and sets by doing things you don't want to do. So,
Before we close things up this evening, are there any final pieces of advice that you would give to UIU students, alums, university community members who might be watching this evening?
yeah, just do it. Just do something. It's no, I think the piece of advice is, again, more tailored towards students. Most adults or people out of college or professionals have dealt with this in some sense. Is just to find what you like, do it, and be open to new things. It's going to serve you well, even if it has nothing to do with the ultimate end goal. Just finding something that's going to make you to challenge you, and even if it ultimately sucks, and a year later you're like, I don't want to do this. You'll have learned something from it. And that's what I tell. I get a lot of students who ask me, how did you go to law school, or what was the path? And I really appreciate coming and giving this talk, because there is no path. Just take the opportunities that come, and Upper Iowa offers a lot of them. Even if you don't think, like I said, it's in your career path, just take the chance, go do something fun, do something different. You'll learn something from it.
I think that sounds like a great way to end our talk with Cory this evening. Cory, I'd like to thank you again for joining us on the Alumni Speaker Series tonight. And I would encourage everyone to tune in again. This is our last one for this academic year, and we will be back in the fall when we are joined with a new set of alumni to participate in our speaker series. So thank you all for joining us with Cory this evening, and have a great night.